story that I want to tell is not as crazy as Eddie's, but it's still something that I remember from when I was in 4th grade. And I think I was about 10 years old, and my friend Hamza, well, he's my classmate at the time, we had gotten in a fight. And during recess time, we had gotten in a fight because he cheated during a game of capture the flag. And we took capture the flag really extremely. We even brought our own flags. We made our own flags, made our own clans during recess because it was an all-boys class. And I caught him cheating, going around out of bounds. And I caught him cheating by acting like he didn't get touched when he clearly did. So I confronted him about it, and we fought. And it was, at the time, it was really extreme, but now I realize it's really something petty. And so he didn't really feel anything from it because obviously he cheated and his team won. But I was really salty, like really salty. So I decided to put my thoughts on a note and to give it to him. And so 3 days after the event, I wrote a note to him talking about how much I hated him, used as much vulgar language as I knew at the time, which was not that much, honestly. But I folded it and I gave it to him after recess. I left it on his desk and I waited for him. On my desk, I just waited for him to watch it, get it. And when he came and he saw it, I saw him reading it, but he didn't care. He didn't honestly react at all the way I wanted him to. So I got pissed 2 times. And so as he reads it, he doesn't care, but he gave it to the teacher, which was not very good for me. And I had never gotten into trouble before. So when he gave it to the teacher, I started, getting really nervous. But I was like, I wrote it on a different piece of paper than in my notebooks that I give to the teacher, so I'll be fine, right? But then she does something interesting, which is get all the assignments, and she starts comparing the handwriting. So I start to get, there's 5 levels of nervousness. I get to the 2nd level of nervousness. I go, okay, I start sweating a little. But then the 3rd stage, she tells me and a few other guys to give our notebooks to her so she can compare even more. And I saw the note on her desk and I see my handwriting and I'm like, crap. My handwriting is pretty bad and it's pretty obvious that I wrote it, but I gave it to her. And she starts comparing and I'm playing with my friends, but at the same time, I'm looking at her constantly trying to see what she's doing, whether she found the culprit or not. And the next day, one day goes by, and obviously I'm still nervous thinking about it, but I had completely forgotten about it by the next day. The next day comes, and she tells me at the beginning of class to go to the principal's office. And that's when I'm like, okay, crap. So I walk down the hallway, and I'm walking to the principal's office, which is really far for being in elementary school. So I'm walking, and as I'm walking, I can feel my heart dropping, like I can feel the butterflies in my mouth. And that's the first time I felt something that extreme before, especially at the age of 10. And I'm thinking best case scenario, they don't realize it's me, they're just gonna ask me a few questions and they can let me go. Worst case scenario, they're gonna put something on my record, they're gonna maybe expel me. I thought they were gonna expel me because I wrote a note to somebody. So I sit down and the principal asked me, do you know why you're here? And although I'm nervous for some reason and I know that I'm here for one reason, I say no. I say, nope, I don't know why I'm here. Why am I here? And I act all innocent. And the principal shows me the note and the letter, my notebook and the letter, and shows the handwriting and says, this is why you're here. And I write and I read what I wrote, and it's pretty bad, especially when I was 10 years old. I mean, it's not something I should know, not words I should know, and I should be writing to somebody else. And so he tells me that number 1, he's gonna call my parents. And that's when I start to cry. And there was a table between us, and so I put my head on there, and I started crying. And then the second thing he told me is he's gonna suspend me. He's gonna do an in-school suspension for 1 week. And I'm thinking, I have to stay in school for the suspension? I can't even stay out of school and just stay at home. So that's when I started to cry even more, and he called my mom. And through this, I learned 3 important things, I'd say. I think the first thing I learned is that suspension is really boring. All you do is read books and you do the same classwork. The second thing I learned is that, if you're gonna write something to somebody, if you're gonna write something vulgar, just say it to them. You don't need to write it and get caught. If you're gonna cut somebody out, don't get caught. And the third thing I learned is if you have a problem with somebody, just talk to them. you don't need to write it and like anonymously, just talk to them.